Hey my friends, this is Daniel Aldie, and today I want to talk with you about 7 expenses that all rich people avoid. So listen up. Now before I get into these 7 expenses, I want you to know that many of them are caused by societal pressures. And what I'm basically saying is that our family, our friends, people that we see on social media or on the internet or around town, they actually influence us into buying some of these things. So I really want you to think about the psychology that I'm talking about instead of the actual materialistic things that I'll be talking about today. So guys, here I am. Let me get right into these 7 expenses that all rich people avoid. The first expense that all rich people avoid is college debt. Now I'm not saying that rich people do not go to college or even accumulate debt. But what I am saying is that they don't allow it to infiltrate their money and their time and their resources and their ambitions. They don't let college debt stop them from creating more success and pursuing their biggest plans. College debt can be a great killer of wealth, and you need to learn how to earn more money, especially if you have college debt. Now, if you can avoid it beforehand, make sure you do so. But if you cannot, make sure you understand that college is not necessarily the answer that you absolutely need in order to become wealthy. The college debt that a lot of people accrue feels impossible. Sometimes the heavy payments exceed the amount that they can actually pay. And so a lot of people feel overwhelmed. A lot of people feel like they're stuck or trapped in a place that they really can't get out of, especially if their college debt exceeds their salary. My friends, if you really want to become wealthy, you have to learn how to earn far more than how much you actually owe to society. So my question is, why pay all that college debt that you could be using to build wealth in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, and even your 50s? Why make those $500 or $1,000 payments, some people are even making more than that, to pay off college when you can actually be funding yourself? You could be funding your business. You could be creating more assets. If you understand how much time, money, and energy college costs, then you'll be able to use your resources in a better way because you know that there's an alternative out there. But you just have to find it, you have to be wise, and you have to keep watching Daniel Aldie's videos. The second expense that all rich people avoid are social events. There's a lot of people that love to party, and sometimes they like to throw their own. But so many people overindulge when it comes to partaking in social events. For instance, a man might want to impress his family and throw a big wedding. Now that wedding may cost $50,000, and that same $50,000 could be used for greater assets. Now why does a person do it? Well, usually because of societal pressures. So you have to realize exactly what you need to do and try to create a budget for your expenses so you don't have to put yourself in these dire situations. There's so many people that spend money frivolously on parties, on events, on all kinds of gatherings that don't need to cost as much. Now, I'm not saying you cannot have fun. I would never say that. What I am saying is be conscious of how you spend your money, your energy, and your time in all the events that you go to. The third expense that rich people avoid are cars. Now, rich people definitely buy cars, and many of them lease cars. But what I'm saying is that when you buy a car that costs way more than you can afford, you're putting yourself into a horrible trap. Because cars depreciate every single year, you're basically losing value in the car. You're losing about 15% every single year on the car that you bought. It's not a wise investment. Sure, it looks good, it probably feels good, but is it actually adding money and wealth to your resume? When you buy a car, make sure you consider all the costs associated with it. The gas, the maintenance, the insurance, and so much more. There's a lot of people that get killed on all these costs because they don't understand it. They get killed on property taxes because they don't understand how it's assessed. Maybe they never paid property taxes, and then once that bill comes, they're like, whoa, I never expected that. When it's time to buy a car, try getting a car that's about 10 to 15% of your income. So for instance, if you're earning $100,000 a year, you should be driving a $10,000 to $15,000 car. Now, if you really need to impress people, then you could probably spend 20 to 30%. But you got to make sure that you really need to impress people. Now, what kind of jobs might constitute the need for impression? Well, I'm talking about jobs when you actually have to go out and meet people, like real estate, and insurance sales and all kinds of occupations where people need to see your car, and that will determine how much money you'll end up making based on their judgment. Now, the only reason why I would ever say that you should spend 30% on a car is if you need a status symbol to build your reputation. Remember, your reputation is your best advertisement, and so if you're in sales, then you really want to leave a remarkable impression and make people say, wow, I like that person. I really want to work with them. Also, if you have a nice car, it obviously gives you more confidence, but make sure that confidence doesn't wane after 2 months. Make sure that it's long-standing and that you feel confident about the car that you have and who you're becoming in that car. The fourth expense that all rich people avoid are houses. Now, I know that a lot of rich people have houses. In fact, that's one of the biggest dreams that a lot of people have. But what I am saying is that if you need capital to begin investing in yourself or your business, why use all that money to throw into a house? In other words, let's say you're looking at a house that you really like, and that house is $500,000. Now, you know that a 20% down payment is $100,000, plus there's closing costs and other costs associated with moving. And so you really have to ask yourself, would that money be better in the house or would it be better in business so that I can grow it and create more assets to grow my wealth? Unfortunately, a lot of people that I've talked to personally end up buying the house and end up giving up on their dreams. Several years later, they have that house and they still have no dream. They still don't even have the business that they always wanted to start. However, if you understand exactly what you want, you're going to delay that house and you're going to use that capital to build your dreams so that you can get a $5 million house instead of a $500,000 house. Which one would you prefer? So you might be asking, what's the alternative? Sometimes it is better to buy depending on your location, but sometimes it's better to rent. And if you can rent, try to rent for 25% of your total salary in a year. So for instance, if you're making $100,000 in a year, you only want to be paying about $2,000 a month in rent. Also keep in mind that if you have a house, just like a car, there's a lot of associated costs. There's property taxes, there's maintenance, there's furniture, and there's a lot of time and energy invested in maintaining and taking care of that house. The fifth expense that all rich people avoid is food. Now, I personally love food, and I'm not going to tell you what to eat and what not to eat. But what I am telling you is that you know when you're spending way too much money on food. No one should be spending more than 20% of their income on food. So that means if you're earning $100,000 a year, you shouldn't be spending $20,000 on food. But unfortunately, a lot of people end up doing that. Even worse, people end up using drugs, they end up buying cigarettes and alcohol and all these other things that cost way too much money. One thing I really want you to know is that you need to eat better foods, because if you take control of your health, not only will you save money in the long run with medical costs, but actually healthier food costs a lot less. I'm giving you this advice because personally, I lost over 40 pounds in the last 6 months. And a lot of you guys have realized that, so I thank you. Mwah, mwah. But be careful with how you spend your money. If you spend it in the wrong way, it's going to lead you in the wrong direction, especially regarding food. One of the best things you can ever learn how to do when it comes to food is to learn how to cook. It's one of the skills that I've acquired over the years, and I am telling you, it's a worthwhile investment to learn how to turn the stove on instead of the microwave, and I promise you it's a greater investment in the long term. The sixth expense that rich people avoid are clothes. Now, clothes are really important, and I have nice clothes. In fact, a lot of people have even remarked about my clothes and even my jewelry. But I'm going to tell you that it does not cost that much to me compared to what I earn. A lot of people don't know this, but when I first started my business, I actually used to shop at a thrift store. I would get $5 suits and $1 ties, and I would put them so well together because I knew how to dress. I knew that the most important thing that I had to spend money on were shoes, belts, and shirts, which didn't always have to be replaced all the time. Since I worked at a clothing store, I knew that if I was to spend money, I had to have nice shoes, a nice belt, and of course, a nice shirt to go along with this $5 suit and $1 tie. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go to the thrift store. But what I am saying is to look for the deals, look for the discounts, ask your cashier for coupons, because a lot of times you can save a lot of money on the clothes that you buy. The seventh expense that all rich people avoid are people. Now, when I talk about people, I talk about the pressures of people asking you to give the money that you've earned. What I'm basically saying is to not lend people money out of guilt. Do not succumb to that pressure. People are going to throw all kinds of insults. They might even try to manipulate you for your money. But if you're wise and if you're conscious of what they're trying to do and what you need to do, then you'll be able to protect the wealth that you deserve. Now, if a family member or a close friend ever asks you for money, they might say, hey, can you lend me some money? Just say, you know what, I'll just give it to you. And make sure they understand that you're giving to them. Because if you lend to them and you expect that money back, it just might ruin the entire relationship that you have with them and also your entire family. Now, what if a family or a friend is asking you for money and you don't necessarily want to give them? All you need to say is, look, my friend, look, my family member, I don't have any extra money allocated to this. And they'll understand because they are in the same situation. And so therefore, you're not lying to them, but you're actually telling them the truth. Now, what about giving to your parents or your siblings? I know a lot of people grow up in traditional families just like my own, and they wonder, when should I give to my family? When should I give to my parents and my siblings? And the best answer I can give you is to make sure that you are fully taken care of for at least 1 year. Ask yourself, do I have my expenses covered for the next 12 months? Now, the only time you really want to give them the money is if you know that they cannot survive any longer without it. And if that's the case, then of course, give them the money, because then it comes down to survival. But if you really want to build your wealth, try to pocket that money so that it can return to you in the future. Don't worry about the guilt or the shame or the manipulation. All you need to do is focus on yourself, focus on your growth, and focus on what you can do to use that extra motivation to build greater wealth. All right, my friends, I've given you 7 expenses that all rich people avoid. What I really want you to do is begin investing in yourself, invest in your business, and invest in your future so that you can continue to expand your wealth and multiply the money that you currently have. My friends, thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel, hit that notification button, leave a comment in the section below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.